Today we're going to take a look at Acend on Bind because, well, I think that this is the only case where you could really make sense for a team to go, okay, we're not going to ban our auto ban, we're going to instead ban Bind from Acend because Acend are so good at Bind that they just never lose. Basically, that's the point. They never lose on Bind at all. They're so good at it, and they play a comp that is a bit weird, you know, a comp that other teams have tried and failed to run as well. They run Brimstone instead of Astra, they run Sage instead of anything else, which, you know, I mean, it's not like a troll comp or anything, you know, these are perfectly reasonable choices for them to make as well, but they run it, and they run it to a lot of success, and other teams have tried and it doesn't work. So let's take a look at some of the things that Acend, you know, how they make this map work. I mean, obviously they're very comfortable on this map and they understand this map very well. But yeah, let's just take a look because they're just insane at this map, basically. We're actually going to start off talking about Supermassive Blaze, their opponents, because SMB came in with a plan that was a bit different, and it's interesting, and we'll get back to this when we talk about Acend defending as well. Both teams kind of did a similar thing, and this is quite interesting to me, because obviously with Bind, we got the new change to the box. Obviously, you can't quite see it here because these players are blocking it, but obviously we've got the change to the box here so that now you can go on top of it, and I've seen, you know, quite a few even pro players die to the fact that, you know, they're sitting like back here somewhere, you know, they're in this kind of area, and they're just like staring down at where, like, you know, where the normal place to come from would be, and then someone comes on top of the box and kills them. I've seen that happen to many pros at this point, and I'm like, come on, adjust. You know that this is something they can do. You can't just stand there anymore and expect to, like, win a fight. So yeah, that's happened to quite a few pros, but let's see how both teams aim to combat it. And I think this first round is a pretty good example of how they do that, and it's actually going to catch Acend off guard. You know, Acend are going to be a bit surprised with what happens. So let's take a look. It's pistol round, and here's what SMB do, and we're focused on it right now because it's this Viper Orb. It's basically changing what is going on here. It's basically changing the choke point from being from here to instead now the choke point is back here. And the problem with the choke point being at this lane, and I've talked about this many times, is that often what teams will do is they'll do, you know, this Viper wall. We actually don't see it on this round, which is quite interesting, but definitely Acend do this wall a majority of the time as well. Everyone does. Viper Orb here, Viper Wall here, and it basically means that, you know, everyone can just walk up here, and it's very difficult to stop them from doing that because you have to peek into Viper utility and you have to deal with that. So instead, what SMB decided to do was go, okay, the choke point is no longer here because you can just walk past that with your Viper Walls and stuff like that. That's what everyone is doing right now with the Orb and the Viper Wall. Everyone's just walking past this choke point, and it's not that easy to defend. Instead, we're going to make this the choke point here, behind the Orb. That's going to be our choke point, and we're going to defend up from here. And it catches Acend off guard, as we are about to see, because, of course, it allows you to get quite aggressive, like Izzy does here. He pushes through. We can also, if we highlight the map, as he's pushing in there, we get the Sova Dart here also, so obviously clearing out to see if anyone is close, and when that Sova Dart doesn't ping anyone, he's going to then get even more aggressive with it and start, you know, running, pushing up, and he finds this kill on stock. So, you know, good use of utility from all the three agents. Obviously, the Viper is backing him up as well for any trade that needs to occur there as well. But what eventually ends up happening is, you know, they kind of push quickly, but then they just throw the nade, and they are going to end up, you know, just retreating and getting back towards, you know, getting back towards site, as you can see, and retreating and playing a 5v4 and winning a round ultimately, you know, that they were given the advantage in by that Viper Orb there. And this Viper Orb did give Acend some early troubles, as we can see. Now, we can see that Killers here has set up the normal wall, and he's going to do a lineup for his Orb as well. But as we can see, you know, they do this very same, SMB do, they do the same Orb and double push, as you can see, and the Sova Dart is about to land as well. They also send a Skydog, you can see, through the teleporter to try and check this. So they get aggressive. Killers does very well in recognizing this, and so he goes from his spot here and just hightails it away. Because he's alone, and he knows that there's probably a bit of aggression coming his way, and so he just gets out of there completely. And this is what you should do, by the way. If you feel like, oh my god, they're sending a bunch of things at me, just run away. You know, just live. Just live to fight another day, because you're, you know, best case scenario, you probably get one, but it's, you know, very possible that you'll get none and just, you know, cost your team being down in a 5v4. So just run away like Killers does here, particularly if you see all this utility coming at you as well. But, you know, yeah, this Viper Orb did cause them a little bit of trouble, that, you know, they had now lost all of this control, and, you know, with their team comp, one thing it does lack is any kind of flank watch. So in theory, they had, you know, lost all of this all of a sudden, which is quite a bit to lose to be honest, on this map when you're attacking. And so it did create some threats for Acend in these early rounds, but they were able to just about convert this round, and we'll move on. Now let's come to round number 6. It's currently 3-2 to Acend, so let's see how this round plays out. Well, we get the normal Viper wall that I talked about, and the orb is going to land here as well. This other Viper here trying to block the orb from not getting into the correct place. It still ends up in a pretty decent position. But then the first bit of action we're really going to see here is towards this shower area. And we're going to get the Brim ult, as you can see, towards shower. And this is just some of the beauty of this team comp, right? You ult this entire thing. Obviously the the Sage and the Raze, sorry, had seen some contact with this enemy Raze. So you get the Brim ult, and this Brim ult basically says, well, you can only come here, right? You don't have the time to run all the way back here. Like this ult says, you have to go back into that corner. And obviously when they go back into this corner, let's see what happens, because Izzy's in for a bit of a rough time here, because what's going to happen is obviously we get the ult, but then we're going to get a slow there from CNED, which says, well, you're not going to be able to, get back across, and then Zeke's going to throw in a nade as well, and as we see up, Izzy just dies to the nade, and there was nothing that he could do about it. That was just like brilliant, and you might think, oh, that Brim ult, oh, it didn't get a kill, but it basically did get a kill. This was basically them using that utility as a team to basically get them into a 5v4 scenario. But Acend are actually going to lose this round, and let's just play it through and see how they lose this round, because they take their time after going to a 5v4, which is perfectly fine. They actually just sent a flash over towards this to make sure that no one was on the flank, or at least not close on the flank, because, they don't have any control over that area. So they were taking their time there. Now, the Sky from Supermassive Blaze is going to send out the Seekers, as you can see, just to kind of stall a bit of time. I don't think, they have a pretty good idea of where these people are. Zisto actually gets a kill here in Shower, which obviously makes it a 4v4, which helps a lot. But if we run it through, that's not what's going to win them this round necessarily. Because what's going to win them this round, as you see Zisto here, kind of go back. CNED uses his ult, so they get back into a 5v4. But what's really going to win them this round is this Viper Orb and what this Sky has done here. And this, again, is just another use of that Viper Orb that we talked about at the start, and how Supermassive Blaze used it early on and got some advantages from it, because as we're about to see, from this Sky, the orb is about to go up as they're about to push, well timed by Supermassive Blaze here, having good understanding of timing. As you can see, the orb goes up, and this is just, well, look what happens. Pretty nice, right? 3 kills, and obviously Supermassive Blaze end up winning this round, and you can see how, like, surprised Acend were. And this is a thing. Teams will be surprised by this, at least at first, because I think this is the adaptation that a lot of teams are going to make, is trying to defend this rather than letting people walk through, because that's the problem that teams have been having for a while now, and the box change only made it worse. I remember watching Boaster talk about why on earth did they change the box, because attacking on bind isn't that hard. Like, it's a pretty 50-50 map, and they just made it a lot easier. And I remember him being surprised by that. But I think that this is an adaptation that teams might make, is we can't afford to just, let people walk all the way in here. So I guess we do have to, do something about it. And I think that this kind of, aggression towards a short is some way that some teams might try and do that. So now let's come to round number 9. It's currently 4-4, and spoiler alert in this game, the map ends 13-4. So yeah, Acend kind of took control from this point onwards, but this was a pretty crucial round then, this round 9, because, well, they aren't going to win a round from here on out. So let's see how it happens. We're already, 40 seconds or so into the round. As you can see, Acend are playing very default heavy. They haven't really made a commitment to any part of the map at this point, which is, if I show you the map, you can see that even better. They're pretty default heavy at this point, even 40 seconds into the round, which is pretty normal for bind. Generally, this is the way things work on bind. It is a very default heavy map. And Acend, do that a lot as well, which again just goes to show that it is a pretty good idea. But what I want to keep notice on is this Sky, because this Sky is going to send out 2 flashes, and obviously we know that there's 3 Acend players here, but obviously Supermassive Blaze do not know that there are 3 players here. But if we just run this through on the map view, you'll see it, that this flash goes down here. Now, you can't hear it because I turned the sound down, because I don't want to hear all the commentary and things like that and distract you. But I'm just going to tell you now, this Sky Flash made the noise of no one is there. Okay? That Sky Flash there, even though it looked like obviously this would catch CNED, it flashed just before it got round that corner. And so they thought no one's there. And then as we see Zeke walk back across over here, guess what this guy's going to do? Send a flash out here. And obviously that one also didn't catch anyone. So at this point, I'm thinking they probably believe that Acend are, probably around this area, if I had to take a guess. They probably think that all the Acend players are within this highlighted area, right? Because those two flashes just didn't catch anyone. So they probably think it's an A lean. So those 3 players on A, that they have 3 players there, are obviously going to stay there. Whereas, had that Sky Flash, caught CNED here, and then maybe caught Zeke here as well in the second one, I have no doubt that, at least one player would be, running over to this B site 100%, right? Because that would indicate that it probably is more of a B lean. But the fact that it caught no one, those 2 flashes, and the timing of the second one was a bit unlucky. And the placement of the first one was, again, probably a bit unlucky, but it just goes to show, like, you have to be very, very precise with those Sky Flashes and make sure that it's, what I would say is make sure that it does cross this corner. Get it out here if you can, just to be sure. Just make sure, because really, you're not using it to blind anyone, you're using it for the information. So make sure that it can actually get that information no matter where it is. The best place for this is, somewhere like here, because it'll catch anyone in this corridor here, and it'll also catch anyone, out here too. So that's what you want. You want it to be in the kind of that spot there. But if we run this forward now, what we'll see obviously is the Sky is going to ult as well. Because they have no idea at this point. They have no idea what's going on. So as you can see, as Acend kind of sneak up towards the site, the Sky sends the ult out. And I'm pretty sure the Sky is going to be pretty surprised here that all 3 of these jellyfish go straight towards Garden. And then we see, again, great utility usage. The Sage Slow, the nade coming in, weakens Brave pretty heavily. Goes down to 40 HP. And they're gonna ult Brave as well, who at this point is just completely stuck. There's nothing he can do. He tries to fire out, which is the correct choice, but dies in the meantime anyway. And then they are gonna make this close, to be fair to Supermassive Blaze. They also lost another player here on kind of the lurk, as the Raze, if we just come back to the map, as the Raze is kind of, they're ulting the site, and the Raze kind of knows, oh, they're on this site. You can see that Starkzo there gets a free kill. Starkzo is gonna get caught out himself though. If we come back towards the normal view, Starkzo himself is going to get caught out by Glove here, because he has no idea that anyone else is in the site. So Glove gets that and gets 2 free kills there as well. And they end up in a 2v2, and it's winnable all of a sudden. But unfortunately, this Astra ult that obviously is meant to keep people off the site kind of works against Glove now, because he has to now go past his own Astra wall in a way that was kind of meant for the attackers to not get past. Now it's kind of his problem, and he's going to end up dying to CNED as he kind of tries to go across the wall. And then Cider X here is also going to die, pushing out the smoke. Quite a brave play this, and you can see it catches Bone Cold out completely. He's not ready for someone to just absolutely run out there. Thankfully CNED has his back and gets the kill. Okay, let's come to round number 10, and we're about 40 seconds into this round. And Supermassive Blaze started on a bit of a save. They had a couple rifles, and they pick up another one here because Zeke died to a Raze ult, I believe. And so they end up with 3 rifles now all of a sudden, and they're in a 5v4. So things are looking pretty good for Supermassive Blaze. Acend started towards B, realized there was a lot of players there, came back towards A, as you can see. But at this point, looking at the map, the round was over. It was already over, because they have these 3 agents still alive, and they have a site that's pretty free to plant on. This Viper, only has a Sheriff, by the way, so, they're not gonna just fully risk it. They are in a 5v4, so you'd probably tell this Viper, just try and live. But the problem is, this is the thing about this comp, is if this happens and they get the spike down, which if we come to the normal map mode, it's going to happen right here. You're going to get this wall, the plant, the Viper's going to put the molly back towards that as well. The Seekers just tell them that, people aren't too close, they're all pretty far away, so that's even better. Then Supermassive Blaze, if we come to the map, are going to have to wait here for their teammates to come back across and make sure, that no one is lurking around on this B site as well. That's going to take up more time as well, and the commentators were saying it, this round is over. This round is already over. Even as they begin, and they have to check all of these angles as they're doing now, they silver drone in, make sure that no one's here as well, because they don't even know the wall's up at this point. So they have to deal with all of that as well. And that's going to cause some issues for them also. And they are going to make this difficult. Supermassive Blaze do pretty well here in making this pretty difficult. But eventually, it's just going to end up being too much. And And yeah, they're just going to die. Bone Cold's actually going to end up with an ace somehow. You know, they begin to defuse the spike. The Viper Molly actually did miss. Don't know why that happened, but I guess it didn't matter in the end. But then the second one hits, so they can't really do anything there. And then yeah, they can't really do anything, and Bone Cold, you know, gets the ace on the Brimstone. Always nice to see. And the spike at this point is like literally about to go off, which just goes to show you that even if they did beat, as you can see, Starkso died right there. So even if they did win that gunfight and they were right there, like the time is just gone. Like, you don't have time to actually fully rotate, get all your team there, destroy the Sage Wall, deal with the Viper Mollies and the Brimstone utility. You just don't have the time. It's just not going to work. And that's the thing with this team comp is, if they get the spike down, you better sprint. Like, you better sprint and just probably have to just run in on your own even and try and get like one kill, or just like desperately try and flank and find the Brim and the Viper as well, because otherwise it's just going to be too much for you and you're just not going to have time to defuse that spike. But then just one last example for you for how this Viper Ores did cause Acend some, you know, some problems. They weren't too sure of how to necessarily deal with it all the time. Let's take a look at this round, which is the final round in the half, and we're going to get a Razor. But this Razor, look at where it started from. So we're already a bit into the Razor here. He ulted from here. Look at that. Look at how crazy that is. And it's because they were so worried that someone could be in this spot and they just didn't know about it because of this Viper Orb, right? Because they didn't push it early, they were a bit concerned that, oh, there could be someone there. Now Zeke, if we watch it through, somehow is going to, you know, we're going to follow this rocket all the way through, right? And somehow Zistau, I don't know why, but they probably didn't even know Raze was there, but Zistau dies here. Like he like came out here just as Zeke was running out of his rocket, and Zeke just sent it there. I'm not even, you know, not knowing that anyone was there, just sending it because he could. That was basically the only place he could have put it. And it got a kill, which was really annoying. But again, I just wanted to show you that overall it did cause them problems. You know, they didn't quite know how to deal with it, and they kind of got away with working other areas of the map, or potentially, you know, playing slow enough that they could figure out that no one was there, or clearing it like this with something like a Razor. Now, I'm not going to show you too much of Ascend's defensive half because it basically went like this. They won the pistol, they won the round after, obviously with the better gun, so that takes them up to 10. Then CNED basically won a round on his own on the bonus, so that took them up to 11. Then they were against pistols again, so they again won that. And it got them to 12-4, and then here we go. Here's the last round. Let's take a look at it. And as I mentioned, you know, Acend were doing pretty similar things, and they did this Viper Wall a lot. Which is obviously kind of doing similar things again to the Viper Orb that we saw from Supermassive Blaze, obviously trying to make this kind of the choke point, you know, trying to make this area the choke point rather than deeper down onto the site, because you can't stop this Viper Wall and Orb, you know, you can't. So you have to play a bit more aggressive, and on round 12, this is a full gun round, they are going to get pretty aggressive with it, as we will see. And we'll just run it through the normal mode first, and then we'll go back to the map, take a look at what really happens. They do the Sky Flash as well, which is really strong, but as you're going to see on the other side of the map, or hopefully, yeah, here we go. You can see you got 3 Acend players. They aren't on A site anymore. They've used this Viper Wall to literally just push all the way around. And of course, Supermassive Blaze have no idea that that is the case. They leave CNED behind, if I just take you to the map. They leave CNED kind of in this area to just watch if anyone does cross across here. And then they send the other 2 to go hunting for the others because they've had some contact on that other side. So they do know that there are some players towards B. Here is CNED just looking there, and here are the other 2 coming for those kills. And yeah, what's going to happen is they get 1, they get 2, CNED gets 1 as well. All of a sudden, it's a 5v2. Good luck. They're going to obviously lose the round if we just play it through. Braves there just in that corner thinking, what the hell is going on? Glove actually gets 1. CNED gets that, and then it's going to be absolutely curtains here. For Glove, nothing really he can do in a 4v1 last round of the game. And yeah, they ultimately end up falling to Acend. But let's just go back and quickly watch the map version of that, because it is quite interesting. And it's a pretty cool Viper Wall with like that slight gap in it. I thought that was pretty interesting as well. Like, it has just that slight gap. So if we watch it on the map, there is just that slight little curtain for them to just peek around here and just sneak around without this Viper being able to see them, which is pretty cool. And then yeah, if we just watch the map version, you'll see CNED get a free kill here on this Viper, and you'll see these 2, you know, take out these 2, and it'll be a pretty free round. I mean, even the Sky dogs past here. You know, CNED gets that free kill. They start killing these guys. CNED eventually, you know, just says, oh, I'm CNED, I'm going to push this guy as he tries to flash me. And yeah, that was it pretty much. And again, just Ascend kind of understanding the map, even with the changes to the map, you know, kind of cool thing that they did. And as I mentioned, they put up this Viper wall multiple rounds and they didn't always push with it. You know, Killer's got a kill from hiding behind in this little corner as well. Like this little corner in showers, you can see that there's just like a tiny area for him to hide in there. Killer's got a kill from just hiding behind that at one point, which obviously is pretty cool as well. So this Viper wall, maybe you want to incorporate this into your game because, again, it proved to be pretty successful.